So context is everything, and it's all about the context. And what I need to be able to do is look at stuff and know what's good and what's bad. Alright, lads and lasses, welcome along. Weekend work, yeah? Reporting there. What I've got in here is a nice example for you. Have a look at, right, of a KPI. And we're going to go through a couple of things, a couple of steps, just to kind of get to the mindset of what actually is a KPI and how is it used in reporting. So in this, I've put like the due, right? And I've guesstimated that kind of me water towers need to be inspected once a year, let's say, yeah? So for the first 250 days, it should be green, right? Then maybe amber for 250 to day 365, well, 251, yeah? Because I should be booking it maybe, maybe we say day 300 and then we can book after day 300. Then over 365, we should be red because it's overdue, right? And we can kind of get the principle of that. So we'd have like, ours good, book now, overdue as a kind of framework for it, yeah? All right, so here we are. Our main data set that we built last week, right? If you didn't know how it was built, haven't seen it done, go back, watch weekend work number 9, right? Here we are in 10. Let's crack on. We're going to do it today with some calculated columns. We're going to add 3 of them, right? And you can see all of them you could add in M, and maybe for your homework, see if you can do it in M. So we've got our data tables here, right? And I've picked buildings behind me. See, this is the building one, right? Which, if you remember, we were looking at or had a focus around the building identification number, the bin. Okay, so we've got a list of our unique bins. So what we want to do is find out when was the bin last inspected? What was the most recent inspection date? Okay, now, one of the things that you'll hear with Power BI is context, and context is everything in Power BI, right? Context transitions, context. That's the big learning curve that is DAX. Right? And I thought we'll do this in calculated columns because it really shows part of it. Okay, so row context is something that normally you don't have in DAX, but you have it, of course, in a calculated column because it knows I'm at this point in the query. So we're going to create a new column straight away. Let's zoom in on this. Okay. Days since previous. Okay. Equals. Now, I'm going to use variables for this just to kind of make it a little bit easier for you. So let's go with first one. So the current day, which is going to be today, isn't it? So that's going to be today. Okay. And that's just going to return today. Okay, and we can test that because what we're going to do is we can tell it to return current day. Okay, let's see what's come back if we do that. So we see we've just got today. Let's expand on this. So what we want to know is when was the latest value that it's got for it. Okay, so if we come to here and we say variable bin, so the building that we're talking about, and that's going to equal the building bin. Now, I've put a column here. I've not put anything in it to define what it is because it knows, or Power BI is aware, that at this point for a calculated column, this is what it will be. Right? There's only ever going to be one row that we're looking at because we're looking at trying to work out the value for here. Right? So this. Right? Then what we need to do is work out the latest, and that's going to equal a calculate. So we need to do a calculate because we've got to do a transition here, or we need to actually have something. We've got a filter or a clause that we need to add to it. So calculate we have to do. So we're going to calculate the max of the inspected date, and again, IntelliSense is great with this. The maximum inspection date is what we're looking for, and we want that where the inspection bin equals the buildings bin or bin. Okay, and I thought using variables kind of makes it clearer, because otherwise it looks like you've got two columns. Okay? So what we've got is this is a full column. That's going to be our full column that we've got. Okay? And this, because of context transition, would always just be a row. Okay, so it would be a scalar value versus a column. Right? And this is one of the headache issues that you can get into in Power BI. So it's kind of, you need to be aware of what's going on. Having variables really helps make that much simpler. And then the last thing we want to do is what we want to get to is current day minus latest is what our value is going to be. And we can now see that we've got these. Okay. We can see how many days it was from today, the day we're looking at the report, to when the last inspection was. So there's a couple of things to do with that. Next thing then is to actually work out how do we do that. So let's go, add a new column. Now this is where the KPI side of stuff comes in. Okay. Well, let's talk about what it is to start with. Right. So state is going to equal. So if days since previous, and again, remember context transition. So we've got days since previous is less than 300. Then it's great. Okay. If it's not, we need to do another if, don't we? So if days since previous is less than 365, so a year, great, book now. Otherwise, overdue. Okay. So we can now see we've got what states, right? The last thing to do, right? And I was thinking about this, and this is again just something, is to actually think through. There might be more than one water tower at a site, and that's going to be useful to know. Okay, and that's going to equal, that's the whole number, right? So we can see we've got ones, we've got twos. What's the biggest type we've got? Biggest place, 13 towers. Who's going to live there, like, right? So suddenly I've built those three. Okay, the key thing that I want you to understand when we look at this in the map, okay, because it's really easy to do. Now I've got this. If I create a new tab and say, right, I want to bring in a map, and I'm going to use one of the newer Zo maps for it. I want to bring in a map. You can pick for both latitude and longitude, right? And that gives us one map. The next thing is I want to put the number of towers on, the size, right? And then the state for the legend. Okay. And we can then start to see, well, I could say, well, where needs to book now? Where's overdue? Where's great? Okay. Now, what I want you to be aware of and start to think through with these is that great overdue book now, or great book now overdue, is a 3-value set. And that 3-value set is the kind of typical thing you get for a KPI or a RAG status. And the only difference between a KPI and the way we've done it here would be, instead of putting text in, I would put numbers in, okay? And then the numbers are used for the state that you then tie back to the text, okay? In a pure KPI sense. But straight away, we get to the idea that we're putting in place a RAG status based on our data that we've got. So if we made great a green, and we can make it quite an acidy green because it's like that, overdue should be red one, shouldn't it? Yeah. And the book now is the amber one. And we start to get a much clearer picture suddenly of actually what's going on. So if we looked at our overdues, we would see we've got a lot that we need to do something about. So my safe bet would be it's not a year. There's more to it than just a year. Okay? But this is what it's all about, isn't it? That we can start to really pull together very quickly and easily ways of overlaying context onto our data. So like, subscribe, stay in touch. If in doubt, reach out. Let us know what's going on. Thanks very much. Have a great weekend. Ta-da.